building a better Bay Area, moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC7 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Karina Nova. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC7. We're asking experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. Today we have Lucy Caldwell, Senior Advisor for Forward, to discuss the new political party and their message to voters. And it's the weekend. Yes, what you can do in the Bay Area other than outside lands. Some of the events even include our adorable four-legged friends. But first, the jobs report is out and it is shattering expectations. Joining us live now is Senior Economics Advisor at the Cornell ILR School, Dr. Erica Groshen. You're also the former commissioner of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So thank you so much for being here. You are the perfect person to discuss the latest jobs report. We appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's get to the numbers first. Employers added 528,000 jobs in July. This is more than expected. Is that right?
That's right. The expectations were actually for something under 300,000, which is what we've been getting lately. And there's because of the actions of the Fed and because of the slowing of measured output recently, people expected that we'd see a slowdown in hiring, which would mean fewer jobs created and even possibly a tick up in the unemployment rate.
Now, with this report out, do we know what types of jobs were added? Which industries?
Yes, we do. So this jobs report is actually really interesting because it combines a survey of households with a survey of companies. And so from the survey of companies, we know which industries added jobs. And the strongest job growth was leisure and hospitality, professional and business services, and healthcare. So those three service sector areas added the most jobs.
To you, is that surprising, or is that expected to have the growth in those industries?
Not surprising at all. These are three industries where we've had a lot of growth. Over the past couple of decades, these industries have been adding a lot of jobs, and they were also heavily impacted by the pandemic. So they have a ways to come back to reach pre-pandemic levels.
Okay, now there are headlines about layoffs. So how do we explain the job demand? Should we not be worried about possible layoffs?
Well, so our economy is very dynamic. We always have a fair number of layoffs, even during the best of times.
Right.
And right now, as measured in a number of ways, we actually have a pretty low layoff rate. So generally speaking, we are not having more job loss than usual. We're having less. However, that doesn't mean that it's not a crisis for anybody who loses their job, right? Mm-hmm. And so we always worry about that because of the costs to the individual and their family from job loss.
And overall, what does this jobs report say about the economy? And if you could specifically talk about the Fed's interest rate hikes as well.
Mm-hmm. So the Fed is trying to achieve a soft landing. So we are now growing at a pace and have been for the past, 6 months or more. That's not sustainable over the long run. I mean, we're going to just, run out of people, right? So, and we've also had this inflation recently, right? And so what the Fed is trying to do is get back to normal levels of interest rates, but also of economic activity, so that we'll be on a kind of slow and steady path going forward, rather than overshooting what we can possibly do, which could cause more inflation and then require a recession to really turn things around. So the Fed has been trying to aim for this soft landing, and that means their main tool is to make money more expensive, raise interest rates, and reduce the amount of cash in the economy. So everybody's been watching carefully because as as interest rates rise, you get cutbacks in investment of all kinds, and people are no longer able to buy houses that they might have been able to buy at lower interest rates. So all of this is intended to kind of slow things down a little bit. But, this is a kind of a blunt instrument, and it's not easy to get it exactly right. The Fed is working very hard to do that, but there's a lot of attention to this saying, okay, have they done too much? Have they not done enough? And that's part of the reason there was so much focus on this report. Do we see evidence of slowing? And if so, is it too much slowing so that we think that we're heading steeply into a recession? So we certainly can say that there's no evidence of a falling off a cliff here. And that their economy still has a lot of momentum, and so I think it raises the prospects for the kind of soft landing that the Fed is aiming for. And there will be some people who say, oh, the Fed really has to slam the brakes on harder. But the challenge there is that I used to work for the Federal Reserve, and we used to say that the lags on monetary policy are long and variable. Mm-hmm. That is, that after they raise the interest rates, it takes a while for the economy to respond, and we don't know exactly how long it's going to take, and it's going to hit some industries more than others.
Speaking about time, we're coming out of a pandemic, and just a few years ago, some people said recovery would be much more difficult. What's your perspective in light of this new jobs report that came out?
So let me say, I was one of those people who was very worried about it taking us a long time to recover. So if you'd interviewed me back then, I would have said, oh, look how long it took us to come out of the Great Recession, from the financial crisis. Why would we think this is going to be any different? I think we now know at least two very important reasons why it was different. One is that employers, instead of laying people off temporarily, mostly laid permanently, as they have done with most recent recessions, they laid them off temporarily. They gave them temporary furloughs and said that they could call them back more quickly. So that's an important part of it. And the other part is that we chose as a country to take very strong policy measures to keep our economy able to respond, to keep it resilient and able to respond. So the policy measures that we took were hugely important for this, to get the kind of recovery we had. It meant it was faster, and it meant it was more complete than it was in the last recession, and partly because our fiscal policy supported it much better. Right. But let me say that although we are back to the unemployment rate that we were at before the pandemic.
3.5, correct? 3.5 now?
Yes, 3.5%, right? Mm-hmm. And the total number of jobs is about the same as it was before the pandemic. So those things are good. But remember, that was almost 2.5 years ago. So this doesn't account for the increase in our population during that time. And so how can those numbers be the same and yet we're behind? It's because we have a big increase in the number of people who are out of the labor force. And so to really get back to where we were before, we need to be able to draw those folks back into the labor market.
Okay, Dr. Erica Groshen, thank you so much for weighing in and your perspective on this. We appreciate your time.
It was my pleasure. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend. And coming up, a new political party has formed called Forward. You might have heard about it. The senior advisor joins us next on Getting Answers with a look at their strategy and why organizers think it'll work. Welcome back. A third political party, the Forward Party, has been launched. It's led by former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang, along with former Republican New Jersey Governor Christine Todd Whitman and ex-GOP lawmaker David Jolly. And now the question is, could it work? Joining us live now is Senior Advisor for Forward, Lucy Caldwell. Lucy, thank you so much for making time for this interview.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you.
Okay, we have to ask first and foremost, why was this political party formed? I'm sure there are a number of reasons, but what were the main reasons for forming this specific party?
Well, I think that one of the biggest reasons is that nearly 70% of Americans feel like they don't fit in either party, in either of the two major parties. We talk about those people as the exhausted majority, and a lot of us are in it, and probably a lot of the viewers are in it. And so if that's the case, if nearly 70% of Americans feel like neither of the two major parties resonates with them, shouldn't we have more choices? We think we should, and we're not just trying to form another party. We're really trying to form a new party, and we're going to do things differently, and we hope people will join us.
Okay, you mentioned it. You're going to do things differently. Why would a Democrat or a Republican want to support it? What different things are you going to be doing that would make someone want to join this party?
Sure. Well, let me take that in two pieces. Part of the premise of your question is the challenge that we're seeking to solve. You said, why would a Democrat or why would a Republican want to join this party? Well, there are a lot of reasons, but there are also many Americans who don't feel like they're Democrats or Republicans. But even the premise of your question, you went to a frame that is the frame so many of us are stuck in. We're stuck in a dysfunctional relationship with our traditional two-party system. Why would anyone, a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, which increasingly most Americans are beginning to identify as independents, why would they want to join? They'd want to join because we're trying to get away from the tribalism that is making our politics toxic. As you said, we're led by a mix of both former Republicans and Democrats, even some people who still are choosing to associate with an existing party. Joining the Forward Party doesn't mean that you have to completely jettison your old political identity. But I think most people can agree that if you look at the party platforms of the two major parties, often you might look and think, neither of these fit me. Both of them are driven by extremes. Their platforms are dictated by rigid policy agendas that really don't resonate for most people in communities throughout the country. So there's also another big problem. There are all of these issues that the two major parties are fighting over constantly, and they're not fixing any of them. So being able to break away from that paradigm that is so dangerous and toxic is really important. And our platform is simple. We're going to build solutions to foster free people, thriving communities, and a vibrant democracy. And I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, and so, you know, with the way our elections work here in the United States, the winner takes all type of elections that we have, we tend to end up with two political parties. How do you intend to win votes and get past that?
Yeah, well, you're talking, I think, primarily about what happens in top of the ticket every 4-year presidential elections.
Right. Yes, we're looking at big picture here. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are 500,000 elected offices throughout the country. And there are also a lot of reforms to reform the way our democracy is structured to make it more responsive to people at the ballot box. Californians are familiar with some of that. Things like top 2 primaries, right? Nonpartisan primaries, ranked choice voting. These are all changes that have already happened in many states and are continuing to happen that will really negate any kind of argument about the spoiler effect and really will just be more responsive to what voters want. It's no secret that with a lot of these reforms, the two major parties aren't that keen on them because they threaten party power. And we're looking to break that up so that we're empowering people, not parties.
And you did mention the spoiler. You know, there's some people that say there's a concern that you're taking votes from other parties. What is your response to that?
Yes, we will be taking votes from other parties. That's the reason to build a new party. We want to give people more choices. And I would say to people who are workers or longtime allies of an existing political party, this is a chance for you to compete in the marketplace of ideas to try to make the case that your party is more deserving of votes than another party, the Forward Party or another party in the country. And I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, competition of ideas is a good thing. It's good for voters to have choices. We don't owe the two major parties anything. Now, there's a different part of that question, which may be part of what you're getting at, which is, could the Forward Party accidentally empower extremists? And we're being very careful about making sure that we are not, in this cycle, especially when we really don't have Forward Party candidates, that we're being very strategic about where we focus our efforts. And we are not engaging in efforts where we think there's any risk that a political extremist, an autocrat candidate might be helped by the Forward Party accidentally. We are a group of very seasoned political operatives and strategists and policy wonks, and trust me, we're aware of the landscape. But in terms of will this take votes from other parties down the road? I hope so, because I think voters should be able to maximize their expression of individual preferences at the ballot box.
All right, Lucy, before you go, real quick, who and when will a Forward candidate run for office? So how soon could we see that?
There actually are some independent candidates on the ballot in various places around the country who are already identifying as Forward Party candidates. Likewise, there are existing elected officials. We're talking about people like mayors or school board members or state legislators who have gotten in touch with us, whether they were previously unaffiliated or maybe they have been registered as a Republican or Democrat, existing office holders who have decided to re-identify and leave their party to become part of the Forward Party. So I think that you'll see us popping up in California and elsewhere very, very soon.
All right, Lucy Caldwell, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, up next, we're cruising into the weekend with a look at some of the fun events happening where you live. Stay with us. Getting Answers continues after this quick break. It's finally Friday. The weekend is in sight, and San Francisco's biggest music festival, Outside Lands, is underway at Golden Gate Park. But if that's not your jam, we know just who to ask for some other ideas on what's happening around town. Joining us live now is Getting Answers favorite, Johnny Funcheap, who's got every region of the Bay Area covered. Johnny, welcome back to the show. We love having you here.
Thanks for having me. And yes, let's find some stuff to do that's not outside lands.
Yes. All right, let's start with what's going on in Oakland. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so this is tonight. It's called Oakland First Fridays. It is a huge event. It's nothing like anything we have in San Francisco of this size and scale. It happens every first Friday. They draw about 30,000 people to Telegraph. 5 blocks of Telegraph are blocked off near 19th Street BART. That's in the Northgate Koreatown district. And for a big party from 5 till 9 tonight. The only problem is that you might be getting near the end of this festival. The organizers of First Fridays say that they're running out of money and they only have 3 more events planned if they don't raise enough money and don't have enough sales. So if you want to support Oakland First Fridays, you better come out tonight. Otherwise, October might be your very, very last month ever to do Oakland First Fridays.
Okay, good reason to get out there and go tonight. We also have an event with some dogs going on. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is taking place in Pacifica. You know, surfing is a big culture along the West Coast, especially down near Pacifica where they have some of the biggest waves in the world. But this is meant for little waves. It's called the World Dog Surfing Championships. It takes place on Saturday morning. And like the name implies, you're going to see bulldogs, Labradors, all sorts of dogs of all shapes and sizes taking to the waves off of Pacifica. Don't worry about them doing well. They have all the dogs wear life vests, so everybody's fine. The humans take them out into the break, find the best wave and push them off. There's competitions for solo dog surfers, for double dog surfers, 2 dogs on a surfboard. That's like my dream. And also tandem human dog surfing. And if your dog isn't the type of dog that wants to get on a board, you don't worry about it. There's a fetch and catch competition in the water. Plus, they also have, for those who just want to stay on the sand, they have a dog fashion competition on the beach. So put on those sunglasses on your doggy, put on a Hawaiian shirt and a hat, and see if they can win that contest. And some of the best dog surfers, by the way, we're told by the organizers, are rescue dogs. Aww. And this event actually helps benefit Rocket Dog Rescue. And there'll be dogs for adoption at the event as well.
An extra reason to go to that event, too. You also have something for cat lovers.
Yeah, this is kind of strange, but lovable in the same way. You know, you've heard of Dog Day Afternoon. Well, this is Cat Day Afternoon. A loosely organized event in Dolores Park in San Francisco is called First Catter Day. You know, why should all the dogs get all the glory and all the outdoor fun? So every first Saturday, a bunch of cat owners and cat lovers put leashes on their cats and bring them out to the park to just chill and have a big cat nap with cats, I guess. We're told, and I believe this, of course, that cats are incredibly hard to train to be on leashes. So the organizers say, just do your best, don't force it. The cat will lead you. Of course, we know cats always tell you what to do. Some will walk on the leash, some will say nope and just want to sit in their carriers. So whatever you want to do, even if you don't have a cat, you can just come and check out all the chill cats sitting in the park on Saturday.
I love that. And Pub in the Park. This sounds interesting. Tell us more about this event.
Yeah, this takes place in Redwood City, which, by the way, of all the cities in the Bay Area, other than maybe San Francisco, Redwood City does a fantastic job of throwing really fun events all summer. Probably one of my favorite cities in the whole Bay Area that does that. This is called Pub in the Park. They do it 4 times during the summer, including this Saturday. They put up a giant inflatable English-style pub. It looks like it's half timbered. It has no place to be in a park, but it's gorgeous and fun. It's like a giant bouncy house, except you can't bounce in it and you can't even drink in it. The reason why normally you can drink inside of it, but because of COVID restrictions, there's still more of a set piece, but it's still a fun day out. This is a 15-foot tall style pub. They're going to have local beers for sale, live bluegrass bands, plus lawn games like croquet and cornhole. and a food truck that I'm dying to try out called the Waffle Roost. They serve fried chicken and waffles, and the Belgian waffles have bacon and caramel. So sign me up for that.
I'm there for that. We have about 20 seconds left. Can you tell us about one more event that we might be able to go to this weekend?
Yeah, so on Sunday, it's the very first version of Sunday Afternoons at the Presidio Tunnel Tops. That's the brand new park that just opened just a couple weeks ago. They're going to do this every first Sunday. It's the first full showcase of Tunnel Tops since the park opened. And you're going to have DJs, flamenco dancing, and a ranger-led campfire talk at 4 o'clock around a 75-person campfire.
Johnny, this is great. So many options. We appreciate it. I love your website, sf.funcheap.com. I always go there when I'm trying to figure out what to do. I like to go to the free section too, because there's always free stuff to do in the Bay Area.
Hey, if you're not having fun, you're not trying. Exactly,
and there's always something to do. So you have it all right there on your website. Thank you for making time today. Have a great weekend.
My pleasure.
And Getting Answers continues in just a moment. But first, a reminder, you can get our live newscasts, breaking news, weather, and more with our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. Just search ABC7 Bay Area and download it.